Corey, these companies are in a tricky position.
I like the sort of, because when I read these statements from the companies involved in this thing, they must be read carefully and tortured. For example, Apple saying we've never heard of Prism. That doesn't mean they're not participating in some way, or it doesn't mean that someone at the company isn't participating. We heard the same kind of things out of AT&T when they were first outed as being involved in a warrantless wiretapping program. But this is an interesting story out of the Washington Post talking about some companies that are involved, the list of companies involved. If you're on the internet, if you're using technology, the notion that Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, Facebook, I'll skip Paltalk for a moment, AOL, Skype, YouTube, and Apple, look, that's where data is kept. And if you're on the internet, you're probably keeping data there in some way. And so this really affects just about everyone. Paltalk, interesting, because that is a site that was very popular during the Arab Spring uprisings being used overseas. And so the overseas aspect also very important here, because the laws are a little more loose in terms of gathering data without warrant when conversations are happening between people overseas or people overseas with people in the U.S. The news we had, of course, yesterday was that Verizon was giving over everything for their business customers. It's an interesting story, and an interesting business story as well.
Corey, a lot of these companies, really since their inception, have been dealing with issues and scrutiny over privacy issues. But when it comes to the U.S. government tapping into their servers, this is really a whole new ballgame, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it shouldn't be lost on us that this is a huge business in many ways. Not only are the companies that we're talking about that are giving up information to the U.S. government, according to the Washington Post, through this PRISM program, not only are they having to spend a lot of money to gather that, let's not be wrong about this. I mean, if they're required to turn over information, they're spending millions of dollars surely on the equipment to gather that and put it in a format that can handle it to the NSA. And then the NSA is spending billions to analyze and collect all of this data, sort it together, sort the unstructured data. We're talking about things like photographs, things like Facebook posts, things like queries and searches. So when we put all that stuff together, the NSA is building a $1.9 billion facility in the desert in Utah with its own power collection, with its own power plant at the source, its own water source, and they're going to gather all of this information and try to sort through it using the best computers ever made, the fastest computers in the history of computing, the best software to go through this unstructured data, and massive amounts of computing.